I don't think it's a controversial statement to make if I say that Marvel Spider-Man 2, which came out on October 20th, 2023, is a good game, a pretty good game, with a lot of issues. I think most people, even the game's most staunch defenders, would tell you that it's got some problems. And, you know, it sold into the eight figures. You know, it's obviously going to get a sequel. It's pretty inevitable at this point. We're going to get Marvel Spider-Man 3 on the PS6 at some point. I just want to say that I'm a little worried because of certain things that happen in Marvel Spider-Man 2. So, how can we, what changes can be made when it comes to Marvel Spider-Man 3 to make it a better game than the previous one, or at least not as much of a disappointment? Well, I've got a list here of some things, both story and gameplay related, that I that I hope we can avoid in this next game, or we can learn from, or we can alter. First up, I think we can all agree, I don't want any more missions as a mere mortal. I don't want to play as MJ if she doesn't have powers. Now, that also does not mean I want MJ to have powers. Don't do that. Don't add any more super people to the game to play as. But, I mean, you got hunters out here that Peter and Miles are beating on, for minutes at a time. Even when Peter gets the black suit, they still don't always go down in one hit, but MJ can just zap these guys. She can shoot them with her little taser web shooter thing and just web them to a car and they can't get out. And it's like, Peter can't even always do that. Why can you, And so it's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating. It breaks up the gameplay. I don't want to play as a non-superpowered individual in my superhero video game. I think that's fair to say. If you're playing a Superman game, would you want to play as Perry White? Probably not. So, I want to avoid that in the future. Next story thing is, I feel as though, based on what happened in the last game and how the story was presented, it may not at all be possible to balance the game in such a way that Peter and Miles have, like, equal relevance and equal screen time in the main story, just because of the fact that Miles has been around for less than 20 years and Peter's been around for over 60. He's got 3 times the amount of history, and he's got dozens of villains. He's got dozens of story arcs that you could adapt. Miles doesn't really have that yet. A lot of his bad guys are just repurposed repurposed Peter villains. Like, he's got his own Vulture, he's got his own Prowler, stuff like that. Like, a lot of it is just Peter's hand-me-downs. Even in the movies, he's fighting Kingpin, he's fighting Scorpion, Tombstone, Dr. Octopus, the Spot, the Prowler, like, those are Peter's leftovers. And so, I think that if we're going to balance Peter and Miles, they need their own campaigns, like a Resident Evil game. They can intersect and, like, influence each other. There could be a zapping system even, but it needs to be like a Peter A, Miles B, Miles A, Peter B. I think that that's probably the best way to handle it, because I do think that the story of Spider-Man Miles Morales is good enough. It's not Shakespearean or anything, but it's moving, it's interesting, and it suits the kind of character that Miles is. I think that if he doesn't have to share screen time with another Spider-Man, he'll get more room to blossom. Because a lot of people, I think, probably enjoy Miles in his own game better than in Spider-Man 2. I don't think that that's, gonna shake anything up if I say it with confidence. So it may be difficult, but I think separate campaigns is definitely the way to go for them. Another thing is, I think it was a bad idea to kill off so many of Spider-Man's villains in the previous game, because Scorpion, Vulture, Electro, Shocker, possibly Rhino, they're all dead. Like, pretty much the entire Sinister Six is dead. Like, Lee is out there somewhere, Octavius is still in prison, but every other member of the Sinister Six got killed off, basically. I think that going to create some problems because we're, like, just now getting to Green Goblin, You know, Mysterio has like been rehabilitated. Tombstone's a good guy, or at least a neutral guy now. Like, a lot of Spider-Man's villains are no longer a threat, so we're gonna have to start getting really obscure. Like, we're gonna have to do like Hydro Man or Molten Man, or like the Beetle, or actually I wouldn't mind the Beetle, but I don't know. It's like, you know, because it's just it's tough to say, because like Spider-Man has plenty of villains, right? Don't get me wrong, but as far as ones that are going to be interesting to fight against in a game, you know, and this is a problem that the Arkham series kind of ran into as well, where like we had kind of gone through most of Batman's interesting, like most notable, most marketable villains by the time the second game was over, and you can kind of get out of that with a prequel like they did with Arkham Origins. I don't see them doing a prequel here, but they could. But still, what happens when you go forward in time again? When you get to Arkham Knight, you're fighting Deacon Blackfire, Professor Pig, Firefly, you know? I'm worried that we're going to run into a situation like that here with Spider-Man, because Batman has plenty of villains, but who do you really have boss fights against in that game? Jason Todd and some vehicles. That's really it, you know? And so I think that we're going to have to start getting real creative, since so many villains are dead, but we'll see, I guess. Pardon the interruption, it's your boy Toxeyboyo, and I wanted to take a brief moment to let you know about the Toxic Touch Productions Patreon. I'm not currently monetized on YouTube, but I still want to bring you the best content that I possibly can. I want to make those videos that you love, and I want them to be the best that they can be. But I need a little help. That's where you guys come in. If you want to support me directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/ToxicTouchProductions, or click the link in the description or the pinned comment. For even just $5 a month, you can get your name included in the credits at the end of the video, gain access to exclusive channels on the Discord, and you get specialized merch at no extra cost. It only gets better as the tiers go higher. Go check it out. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting my dreams. Now let's get back to the video. I definitely do not want a Superior Spider-Man story. I know that like the ending of the second game teased Otto coming back, and Norman talks about the G serum, so we're obviously getting the Green Goblin, and it seems like Dr. Octopus will make some kind of return, like he'll escape prison, something like that. But I do not want a Superior Spider-Man story right now. Not to say that if they make 4 or 5 of these games by the time it's all over, that I wouldn't want to see it done, but we just did Evil Peter, you know? I don't think that going down that road again, because a lot of people have said that it would be cool to get a Superior Spider-Man game, and I agree with that. Just not right now. Not right now, especially because like that happened at around the same time as Miles popped up, and so I think if we focus too much on stuff that's too recent, we're gonna kind of, I don't know, I think we might run into some problems there. But you can obviously tell me if you disagree, because I'm sure that you will. Next, I don't want an anti-Goblin suit for Peter in this game, because he had an anti-Ox suit in the first one and an anti-Venom suit in the second one. I know that the anti-Venom suit has precedent from the comics, still. But on the topic of the anti-Venom suit, I want it gone. I want it gone. I do not want him going into this next game with default permanent symbiote powers. I understand for the purpose of the second game and how gameplay itself works, why they put it into the game, because obviously if you want Venom in this game, Peter needs to lose the black suit. But you've leveled up the black suit, you've unlocked abilities and skills for the black suit. It would be unfair if you just lost these things that you worked for, so they have to give you something to supplement that. Cool. This next game doesn't need to have anything to do with that, though. I do not want to see that shit ever again. I just think that's bad design. The same reason that the same way that I didn't like Peter in the MCU just having that Iron Spider suit permanently after Endgame. I'm glad it's gone. I'm glad it's gone. I want regular Spider-Man, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, like I don't even care if you don't explain it. I want that anti-Venom suit gone. I also think it would be good for, like, since we're already stealing plot elements from the movies, let's go ahead and do it again with Norman Osborn. I think it would be interesting if Norman and Green Goblin have separate personalities like they did in the movie, because Norman and Peter obviously have a decent relationship in the Insomniac verse. Like they seem to love and appreciate each other to a certain extent, right? You know, Norman's very thankful to Peter for being in Harry's life as he's sick, and for, you know, being there for him. So I think if there's a mutual admiration between the two of them, because Norman is going to need more presence if he's going to be the main villain of this next game, obviously. So I think that the dual personality thing could be interesting, and could be a good thing. But I also really hope that they don't pull a Ragnarok where it's like, okay, this has to be the last game. Like, if there's too much story for one game, let it spill over. Don't feel like this needs to be a trilogy. You can make as many games as you want. There's 4 Uncharted games, you know. It doesn't have to stop at 3. Now, by that same token, don't make 40 of these, but you know what I'm trying to say. I don't want any more spider people. Like, they teased Cindy Moon at the end of the last game, but I don't even know why. I don't even know why. Like, Cindy's also really recent. Cindy is more recent than Miles. I think she's more recent than Spider-Gwen, if I'm not mistaken. But, like, the vast majority of people that know anything about her know one thing. She's got a pheromone ability, and she can seduce spider people really easily. But considering that she's like a teenager in this timeline, because, you know, she's the daughter of the guy that Rio Morales is seeing, I would sure hope that you're not going to put that in the game. And if you want her to be like this love triangle figure for Miles, what's the point of that? He's already got Haley. You know, Peter lives with his girlfriend and is probably going to be getting married at some point in this third game. And also, Cindy's a minor. So it's like, I don't know. Obviously, there's more to her than that. I just don't know. You probably don't know either. Most people don't know that much about Cindy Moon because she's so new. I think that on top of that, you could barely balance the 2 spider people that you had in the last game. Let's not add a third. I don't want Ben Reilly. I don't want Miguel O'Hara. I don't want any more spider people. You know, and speaking of Ben Reilly, I would also like this story to remain small in scale. Even though we did just have like an alien invasion, basically, I want it to be relatively simple in comparison. So, like, no Inheritors, no Clone Saga, please. I just don't think that we need to get that comic booky right away. Right away. This is the third game. But it's like, I mean, the first game's about, like, you know, freaking airborne sickness. You know, a man-made virus that's getting people sick and killing them. And, like, a poisoned water supply and a guy with an axe to grind. And then we jumped right into Venom. It did feel as though, you know, and you could say that about, like, the Spider-Man trilogy from back in the day. But at least that didn't end with, like, the city being taken over by symbiotes. Like, Web of Shadows as a standalone game is fine because that's what that game is. There's no escalation towards that because that's the premise of that one game. That's what the story is. Same with Shattered Dimensions, same with Edge of Time. We're doing multiverse, we're doing time travel. That's what this particular story is about. I feel like we need a more gradual ease into something like the Inheritors, which, I mean, they suck already. I don't like Moreland very much, but, you know, if we're gonna do Clone Saga, we just need a little bit more. For the Clone Saga, we need more Peter. We don't really have a whole lot of Peter Parker in these games, and I think that's gonna need to take center stage if we're gonna be looking at that. But that's pretty much all I got for story. We can look at gameplay here real quick. I want those spider legs gone. I want them gone. I know that the reason that they were added is because Miles has special abilities on top of his regular spider powers. And they didn't want Peter to feel less interesting to play as. But you know how you offset that? The gadgets. Peter's gadgets from the first game made that game so much fun to play. The trip mine, the web bomb, the impact webbing, stuff like that. Like, you can take out the gravity matrix and the concussive blast. That's totally fine. Those are OP anyway. Most people probably didn't even like get those until towards the end of the game. But you can take those out and let Peter's gadgets be supplementary to Miles's Venom and Invisibility. They can feel different. They can have different play styles. There should be a reason that you want to pick one over the other for a certain mission if it can be completed by either one. Most of the time in the second game I played as Miles because you don't get to play as Miles very much in the main story. But something that could come from them each having their own campaign is that they do get an equal split. So anything that can be completed by either one, you have a choice because it's like, oh, Miles is going to be better for stealth because he can turn invisible. Or you might find Peter better for stealth because he can set traps and stuff like that. Like, let them play and feel different because they are. That I don't know why that's so like scary as a concept. You can even like I talked about gadgets a little bit just now. I don't want them to have the same 4 gadgets. I do appreciate the way in which that you deploy them in the gameplay, because you don't have to slow down combat by breaking up a weapon wheel. Even though it never really bothered me that much, you can just do it while you're playing by pressing 2 buttons. That's cool. But Miles's gadgets in his own game sucked. Gravity well, remote mine, stuff like that. Like they sucked. They really sucked. They were such an afterthought, but you could give Miles interesting gadgets that make him different than Peter, or just Miles doesn't need gadgets at all. If they're going to be really stupid like that, or if they're going to be communal, just I don't know, just let them stand aside, like I just said. It would be really cool if we got more expanded web swinging, like you could run along the ground, or you could do multiple loops or something like that, or you know, I don't know, something where you like swing horizontally to like hook around a building. I want more control, more freeform swinging. I feel like that's not too hard to accomplish because games from 25 years ago had it. But we'll see, I guess. Or not 25 years ago, but like 20 years ago. 25 years ago, 2001. Freaking Mysterio game? I don't think so. Or no, that was the Electro game. Sorry. But yeah, like I don't know, we could do something interesting with like aerial combat, or we could fight on ceilings or on walls. Like we could kind of borrow a bit more from Web of Shadows since we already did it in the last game. If we're fighting Green Goblin, and you know, if they want to put Beetle in this game, it could be cool if there was more focus on aerial combat to kind of give a new dimension to fighting. It would really be nice if Miles had his energetic swinging style back so that he could have that exaggerated swagger of a black teen. Multiplayer would be great. I think they should shrink the map a little bit, just because like I get why they made the map bigger, you know, to really let you feel like you're traveling really fast, because you are, to give those web wings, you know, something to do. That's why there's wind tunnels that go underneath the bridges. But it's like, are you really going to Queens and Brooklyn very often, unless it's to do like a side quest? If you load up your 100% save file right now, where are you going to be swinging around? Manhattan, because that's where you can swing around. There's nothing really to do in Astoria or in Brooklyn, right? You probably are just going to stay in Manhattan. So you don't need to make the map bigger if you're not going to give me a reason to go exploring it. Just keep us on Manhattan. I don't care. I don't care about going to Brooklyn. It's cool. It's nice to put it on the tin, put it in the trailers, but it's like, who cares? Beyond that, obviously there needs to be New Game Plus at launch. I don't know why we need to keep having this conversation. Why are you releasing a game for $70 that does not have New Game Plus at launch? Premium Edition, I mean, if it's just going to give you whack-ass skins nobody cares about, we don't need to do Premium Editions anymore. I would love multiplayer. I would love to hop in a session. I'm Miles, my friend is Peter. Let's go hop in and do something. You know, we were robbed of Spider-Man and the Great Web, so let's just get a crumb of it in any form if we can. That would be great. But that's my list. Not a very organized video, but that's my list of things that I think that we could do for Spider-Man 3, or Insomniac could do for Spider-Man 3, to make it an improvement on a base level compared to the previous game. Obviously, I don't know shit about making games, but if Brian Intihar wants, you know, some fan input, he's got it from me. But that's all I got for you guys. Subscribe if you're new here. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Comment below. Tell me what you think they should change or hope that they do change when it comes to Spider-Man 3. That would make you like it more than you like Spider-Man 1 or even Spider-Man 2. And we could chat about it. But until then, or until